fun. Just kidding. My name is Kesha Bruce, and I am an artist, primarily a painter, a drawing, painting, collage, all of the media. And my work is I like to think of it as sitting on the intersection of painting, fiber arts, and sculpture. Because of the way that I use fabric and layering in a very thick layered technique. And yeah, I think that's pretty good. Well, I will say the subject, of course, is that my work is deeply based in the spiritual practices of the African diaspora, but specifically, I'm really, really, really interested in magical spiritual belief that we see it make its way into a lot of African-American mythology and storytelling. So a lot of my work is influenced by that and my own spiritual practice as well. That's what I do. Who wants to go next?
Liz.
Okay, if Lisa says I go, I go. Hi, I'm Liz Tran. I'm an artist, multidisciplinary artist based out of Seattle and soon to be based out of Oregon as well. I do a lot of work about my own personal inner psychology, and now that's kind of expanding into so much more. My most recent body of work is about the Rorschach test and the inkblot test, and how the viewer can see themselves within these paintings and find their own interpretations through them. Anyways, I'm probably delving too far into my most recent artist statement. Yeah, I do large scale installations. I do painting. I do printmaking. I have done video.
You make objects?
Yeah, I want to do anything and everything. So fashion, design, whatever. Yeah.
All the things.
All the things. And I'm starting to like turn myself into my work and dye my hair. And, you know, because it wasn't enough just to make the work. So
I kind of look forward to seeing what color your hair is going to be next.
Every time.
I did it again this morning. So.
Well, I am Lisa Myers Bulmash, and I am a collage, assemblage sculpture, and altered books artist. And my interests basically converge where, you know what, let me try that again. I'm Lisa Myers Bulmash, and I am a collage and assemblage sculpture artist. And, oh, wait, it says my internet connection is unstable.
Nope, you're fine.
Oh, okay.
You look stable to me, Lisa.
My name is Lisa Myers Bulmash, and I'm a collage and assemblage sculpture artist, and I also alter existing books to create new works of art. Basically, I like bringing images from the past into the present to talk about issues that bother people, especially the issues that bother people about African Americans. I kind of think of the images I use, the 18th and 19th century engravings that I use, as sort of a sneaky way to introduce what I'm talking about, because much of the work that I do is about stuff that people don't want to talk about, like institutional racism or police violence, or just your kid getting expelled from school because he accidentally brought a pocket knife to school.
So can I ask you questions about, you said that you found it was easier to talk about these issues kind of in a coming in through the back door, but you think it's because of the vintage, right? The archival or vintage images, they have like a separation, like it makes it not so immediate, maybe not so scary. And then you—
I think so, because, you know, you see the old engravings and sketches of, you know, like a battlefield where all the figures are this big, and everybody is posed in really stiff ways, or just ways that you really wouldn't see if it was photography. And that actually is a plus to me, because it means that I can start refashioning the narrative. And I think when people see the images I use, they think, oh, old timey, we're going to talk about something in the past. No, we're going to talk about something in the future. And in the present.
I love that.
Yeah, I love how you suck people in too with your materials. And
Yes.
you know, some of your materials are things you get at like what, a thrift store, antique shop. And people will notice that at first, but then yeah, there's much more to the narrative.
Exactly. By the time you realize that the antique washboards that I used, along with the old school transparencies and the painted images, are actually pointing to something that maybe you didn't want to think about before, it's too late.
Like, too late, gotcha.
Yeah.
Got you. You're interested and you want to know the rest of the story. Yeah.
Oh, actually, now that I'm thinking about it, do you have a favorite non-art supplies store or place that you go to? Because there's this area up here in a town called Snohomish, and their main drag, their Old Town main drag, has a lot of antique shops. I'm not going to say anything more because then everybody will rush there.
I knew you were going to say that. I was
And
going to
there's
say
also
that
Goodwill. There's also Goodwill, but again, not going to tell you which one.
Yeah, I was just going to say that I think one of the things that all of us have in common is we use some really interesting materials that most people wouldn't think of as art supplies in our work. And my favorite art supply store is any hardware store. It doesn't matter. Liz and I were once at a residency. She already knows.
I know what you're going to say.
In the Champagne region of France. And there wasn't even a grocery store in the town. So we took my car and we drove to the next village that there was. We found a hardware store. And you've never seen, like, we were just like grabbing all the things, right? And I'm sure the people in the store were like, what are you using that copper tubing for? Or like, what is it?
I bought like a dozen mop heads. And like, what?
How big is that for? Like,
but I love going to hardware stores. Like whenever I travel to different places in the world, like
yeah,
I usually have to rely on hardware stores as opposed to art supply stores. Like the hardware store in central Turkey was where I got most of my art supplies when I worked there. But hey, you make it work.
Exactly. And I prefer going into the hardware store and looking at objects where I don't know what their actual use is, because then that frees me up to use it the way I want to use it.
Exactly.
Yeah, they just become like sculptural elements, right?
Exactly.
Or tools. Like I use a lot of I use a lot of things that are cleaning supplies to make for mark making, and like big brushes that are for like sweeping off dust off of like shop tools and stuff. Those are amazing like mark making tools, and you know, and the other thing is they're so cheap. If I yeah, it's like $2 if I get it at the hardware store, and if I go to an art supply store, it's like $75. This brush is it's 6 inches wide. I'm like, yeah, but it's really just a broom. So
exactly, unless it talks and does the job for me. No.
Sometimes it's fine to go old school.
We have to be creative with our materials, for sure.
Exactly.
And don't forget about fabric.
Yeah. So I am my name is Kesha Bruce. I'm a fabric hoarder, and hi
Kesha.
I have a really hard time throwing away. I use a lot of fabric in my work, obviously, but my love for fabric goes back, to like my grandma's house and playing with the bed sheets and building tents and trying to make a trampoline. But most of my studio is my art supplies. It's mostly all fabric. But so Liz can attest to how much fabric I have shipped fabric all the way across the country, between countries. What did you say, Liz?
Across the world.
Yeah, I've literally shipped artwork, fabric for artwork all over the world. you know, you just never know where you're going to be drawn to, whatever is. It's weird because I never, when I was in school, undergrad and grad, I mean, I used some fabric in graduate school. I did some like little quilt making, but it's not my temperament. You know, it's like, I'm not measuring squares to sew them together. I'm just never going to do that. I don't measure. Okay. First of all.
Yeah, I'm not real good at measuring either. Sometimes I'll make myself little paper versions of what I want to do to try and figure out what it would be like 3D, but
I make templates and then I trace around them. So I'm like, I don't have to measure. I did this first on cardboard and then I just trace it with a Sharpie.
Exactly. Oh, here's one of my favorite tools. Just an ordinary squirt gun.
You better believe it.
One a lot too.
Do you have a garden mister?
I'm not that fancy.
It's so fun because you pump it like this. But so I'm in the desert. I forgot to mention that at the top. But I work right now. My studio is in the suburbs of Phoenix, Arizona. It's in Mesa. So as you can imagine, when it's only like right now, I think it's like 12% humidity, and I paint in acrylics and all water based. So it's the fight for hydration. Now I've made it work because my process is I move fast. I like to paint it. Do I love it? No, move on to the next thing. So it's great. But when you need a longer working time, the garden mister is the jam, especially for big paintings. Because my hand gets tired from this spray.
Yeah, we don't need those things in Seattle.
Seattle, y'all don't have those problems.
Naturalness. Well, yeah, but I can really sympathize though, Kesha, because I lived in Palm Springs, Palm Desert, California area for a while. And one of the first things that I noticed was the misters that they'd have along the that
walkways and stuff
of restaurants and stuff. And I was like, but my hair, why? No, you don't have to worry about your hair curling up. If you have curly hair, you don't have to worry about that at all, because as soon as the mist comes down, it evaporates just before it gets to your hair.
It's kind of unbelievable. It's like we have all kinds of different working environments.
We kind of have the opposite problem because we have a set number of sunny days outside of summer, and so whenever it's just dry, our standards are dry, sunny and actually warm. Ooh, isn't it pretty outside?
Yeah.
So for me, I have a hard time waiting for stuff to dry, because I'm like, if I were living in the house I grew up in Southern California, I'd be able to put this out in the yard for a half an hour and it'd be dry as bones.
Yeah. It's a different working. It's a totally different way of working, right? Because of the environment. There's like, you have to adapt to that. And I think, I guess I'm lucky because, I mean, imagine if I were someone who did I would have to completely change media. It's amazing how you can adapt, but also it could be really difficult. You could be, no one thinks about the behind the scenes process of what it takes to get the technical aspects of making a painting. It can be pretty wild, and it's super labor intensive. And
now that I think about it, it's kind of like, have you ever seen that Food Network show Good Eats? Where they talk about the science. Well, see, the host, I don't even know if it's still on, but the host talks about the science behind whatever dish he's making. So he might be making something like French fries, and he talks about how the oil reacts with the potatoes and why the third batch is better than the first batch because this is happening on the molecular level. And it's kind of like that here too, because you have to think, okay, how is this going to respond?
Yep.
So artists are essentially chefs.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Also, we're good at physics, just not the math part. I mean, think about it. Think about
chefs, but definitely not pastry people.
No,
I don't think there are any pastry.
You have to measure. It's too much science. Pastry, that's too much science. But think about the difference between a small work that is on a stretched canvas and a bigger work that needs to be on a firmer surface for stability. Those are the things that you learn sometimes by trial and error when something goes terribly wrong. and then you get to a certain point in your career where that stuff just becomes intuitive. You're like, if it's going to be bigger than 5 feet, it needs to be on board. It can't be just on canvas, or, you know, whatever, you know, or I can't use this medium because I know that it won't hold up, or, you know, all those things are always getting baked into the work. And that's completely outside of just the creative process, right?
Yeah.
That's just the technical know-how. Like, how do you use the materials? Is this going to be stable? Is this going to fall apart in 6 months? How is someone going to live with this work?
Can I ship this?
Yeah. Yeah.
That is what I think about so often when I'm making work, whether it's just a collage on paper or it's a large collage on board, but especially when I'm making an assemblage sculpture, because it's basically a 3D collage.
Yeah,
so I have to make sure that this is cushioned and that doesn't jiggle, and this thing will fit into it when it gets to its location, but not while it's moving, because otherwise something's gonna fall off. And yeah,
right.
I think we spend a lot of time thinking about the physics, but not so much about the chemistry.
Yeah. I just trust that the paint makers know what they're doing, and that I'm not like diluting it so much that I'm like causing it to be. But even that's background, that's art nerd knowledge right there, right? Like, you can only dilute this so much, and then the pigments become unstable, and the color, you know, all these type of things that, like, people, I don't think when people they buy our work and they're living with it, I don't think they even know like how much deliberation like goes into it.
Like, I didn't realize how much deliberation was in my process either until I started teaching and had to break down everything down, and had to teach people about materials and what to use, what not to use. And I realized, you know, like you said before, Kesha, it's just so completely intuitive that I had no idea that my knowledge base was so huge, you know, after an entire lifetime of working with, God, hundreds of materials. Yeah.
I mean, I feel like artists should, like, if, like, for instance, remember I told you that one time I was like, I need to paint this fabric. I was like, I need to talk to Liz, because she's already tested all the brands and all the types. And it's just a shortcut. Just ask an artist. If you need something, just ask an artist. They'll probably tell you what to do.
And also Golden Golden has a great helpline for that too. They have a bunch of mad scientists who will answer your questions.
Yeah. I remember I called up their helpline when I was still getting used to their gel mediums, and I had some regular gel matte rather than high gloss or semi-gloss or whatever. And some of it had dried out, but I was thinking, oh, please, you know, is there some way I can save this? So I called them. They're like, okay, well, if there's any of the soft stuff you could probably still use, but all this hard stuff, no, it's gone.
I've already tried.
Yeah, right. You're like, no, we can't make it liquid again. It's gone. It's solid plastic. Like, goodbye. Yeah, right. No, it's over. This is a total sidebar, but I actually was in a meeting this morning at like noon with Mark Golden.
Oh, no way.
Yeah.
So funny.
Yeah. I really was at work. I was like, there's Mark. Yeah, it was cool. Yeah. The art world is so small. The art world is so small. So I'm dying to ask y'all about so many things we could talk about, but like, can we please talk about what it's like? Like, I know Liz is making a ton of work right now. She's working, you're still on deadline. Yes, you are, don't be modest. Like, how's it been for you the last year working? You know, have you been in lockdown? Like, it feels different to me.
Yeah, like, I feel like when the COVID, you know, arrived to the US and stuff, no one knew really what we were in store for, how long it would last for. And I already use my work as a therapeutic process to get through a lot of stuff. So my immediate reaction was just dive in and just work, and limit. I basically went into hermit mode and just started making all kinds of stuff. And then a few months ago, I started getting really tired. So I had 3 shows all kind of lined up. Actually, my 3rd show hasn't happened yet, but the work is done for that. So yeah, and now I'm at this point where I want to take inventory of everything that I've done in the last year or so, and take some space and time for myself to spend more time with family and you know, just kind of reorganize life to be healthier.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
How about you, Kesha? Because I always think of you as sort of like a perpetual motion machine. You know, you're always doing this and that, you know, and meanwhile, you're also juggling plates and stuff. How did it affect you?
Yeah, I haven't made anything in a year. So like,
well, yes, you have, though, because you did the piece for Black Girl Basel.
I did, and I'm very, very proud of that. This is the way I think about it. Like I live and die by the deadline. I am really motivated by having a specific, like a timeline. Amy Morton will tell you, she's like, Kesha, let me just give you a deadline so you can work towards it, because this is what you need in your life. And then, so every time I know I'm going to have an exhibition, I know I have I live and die by the ship date, but we're not going anywhere. I don't have any shows lined up. That was actually intentional. I had planned to take at least a year off from exhibiting just to rest, refill, and like see where the work wanted to go next. But the thing that I found so difficult is that I make work from a place of joy and like happiness and hope. And it's been hard to have those things during COVID. So it's been hard to work. I have lots of ideas, but none that I'm in love with. And to devote a ton of time to it, I have to be like excited about it, like really excited. And I'm just not there with it. So I bought an iPad. And so the one piece of work that I love, I made a poster for Black Girl Basel this year. It was a limited edition print. And it was the first like fully digital, like there were no elements. It was all made from elements that were already photographed in my computer. And I loved it. And then so I started drawing with Procreate, and I've been drawing these faces. So, and I'm like, why am I'm not a figurative, I don't do that. Like, but you just, you know, that's what it's like being an artist. You're like, 1 minute you do this, and then for some reason you're drawing faces all of a sudden. So I
wanted to try out Procreate, but I have so many friends who spend so much time on it that I'm like, is that something I really have that I can actually devote time to, or is this going to be like, you know, abandon all we who enter here, and you know, it's just going to be another obsession of mine or something?
Oh yeah, you'll be totally obsessed with it. It's like if Photoshop were a game.
Oh.
Yeah. It's really fun. It's really fun. It's really fun and super immediate. And there's things that you can do with it that you couldn't do with it that I've been using Photoshop for forever, but this is different. And so it kind of makes me draw. So it makes sense that then of course what I'm doing is different because it's totally different formats, totally different medium. So I don't know, we'll see what comes out. I'm kind of excited to see where these go, but I don't know. I want to get back to painting one day. I mean, I'm a painter.
You designed a candle last year too.
I did. So I guess it's not that I'm not making work. It's just that like I'm just, you know, I think we're all in the place, and maybe last year just kind of made us go like, wait, what do I really want to do? And I'm just kind of at the place in not just my life, but my career, the life in general, where I don't want to do anything anymore unless it's like a hell yes, I cannot wait to do this. I don't want to do anymore, like, I guess. And when Bright Black Candles approached me, actually it was one of my collectors who recommended me to the company. They are based where she lives. Hey, Mavis. I was like, yes. And I've never done any type of collaboration with a brand before, but like, I knew I had to do it because the second she asked, I was like, oh, that will be fun. And so that's what I'm leading with now. Like, if I don't have that reaction that, oh, wow, that could be really fun, I don't want to do it. You know, I need more fun. It was a rough year.
I get it. It's at the beginning of the pandemic when we were all locked down. I was more like you than like Liz in that I wasn't making anything. I just felt like I was hovering for the longest time. And it was a combination of hovering, like wondering how much time I had to get something done before my kids needed help with homework or something like that. And also the feeling of hovering, waiting to see like, well, what's my next move? Am I gonna exhibit somewhere, or if I don't exhibit, then what kind of work am I going to be making? And I think the best way I can describe it is like when I had my first son. I have two sons, and for the first year of his life, of course, I was sleep deprived, but when he did go to sleep and when he was in bed for, a good chunk of hour, like say 4 hours, 6 hours or something like that, I had to train myself to say, okay, this is what I'm going to do while he's asleep, because otherwise I'll just doom scroll or just, wander around on the internet and keep on looking at the clock going like, oh, I only have an hour left. Oh, I only have 2 hours left, whatever, and all that time gets frittered away because I'm worried about how much time do I have? and now I'm just like, okay, I'm going to work on this. I have this idea and maybe I'll sketch some stuff out and move things around and lay it out. But I don't worry so much about getting it done in a specific time frame. I'm just my goal is just to be in there and do something.
That's how I do it. Liz, I forget. You always seem like when you go into your studio, you know exactly what you're gonna do. But that's what it looks like from the outside. You're like, oh.
It looks very convincing. It really does.
That's good. I'm glad I'm fooling someone.
No. I need to go over your studio more often and watch you go,
I know this sounds strange, but sometimes it just feels like the work makes itself at times. I just have to get started, get the ball rolling.
Yeah.
And that can be difficult. Yeah.
I call it the on-ramp, and I joke that I have a really, really long on-ramp. And my on-ramp starts with me cleaning my bedroom and doing my laundry. Like, I can't make work if the rest of my house in my life is not in order. So like, I have to pay all my bills, do all my laundry, like shampoo the carpet, then I have to like get a haircut, and then like I have to rearrange. I just mopped the studio floor for the first time in a year.
No.
It was real dirty. And now
too much cleaning.
I can start making work.
I don't think I've ever mopped my studio floor. Yeah.
Notice how the camera is just in this little area, so you can't see what's going on over there.
I mean, I've only been in it for 17 years. So
if you were gonna paint that floor, you would have done it already.
I mean, I figure, what's the point?
I know. I painted mine, and then I painted it with. Then I went around and like threw paint on the floor and drip. So it's like, it looks like a really weird Jackson Pollock, it's drips.
Mine looks like that too.
And so that's why it's camouflage. Well, my floor looks just like yours now, except for that the under color is like this, my favorite color, blue. So
I used to work with a lot of beeswax, so there's a lot of beeswax stuck to my floor too, which can be a little sticky at times.
It's cozy though.
Yeah.
It's cozy.
And it is, you know, I think one of the things that I like the most about hanging out with other artists is, you know, just watching a little bit of them at work, you know, because I'm watching them make these decisions, whether they're moving or not. I can see the wheels turning, and I can see the person thinking, would this work or should I do it that way? And to anybody else, it just looks like you're just staring.
And you're like, I know what you're trying to do. You're trying to figure out whether you want to put it there or you want to put it there, aren't you?
Exactly. I'm watching the eyes and I'm going like, oh, there. It's going to be in the upper quadrant right there. Yeah. Yeah. See? Bingo. I win that point.
I predict. Yeah.
Yeah, I have a bunch of ideas that I am slowly working through. I started another 3-foot by 4-foot board collage, and I just finished that up, and it's going to be the first of 3. So now I have to get prepped with the second board and the third board. And if I had more room, if it was more like a, you know, like a loft or a warehouse or something like that, I would probably have prepped all the surfaces
At the same time.
At the same time. I can do that during the summer here. Oh, it's great during the summer here. But when it starts getting damp and dark, you know, there's only so much time that you can spend outside.
Yeah.
And if you're painting or you're gluing something or whatever, of course you have to think about the humidity and, you know, how long it's going to take for things to set. And even if I wanted to work outside, I would still have to be thinking about, okay, well, how long can I leave this out here before the weather changes?
How many pine needles and insects do you want in your painting?
Exactly, that too.
Yeah. Oh, it's not a bug, it's a feature. Oh, bug.
Just tell people it's completely intentional. It's beadwork. It's beadwork. I just use insects.
If you squish it the right way, it'll look like beadwork.
Now I'm trying to train my dog to. What did you say?
Well, Lisa does literally have insects in her work, so it could go along with it.
Yeah. I mean, generally I make the insects, but
right, just go with it. You just took it to the next level, Lisa.
Just keep going.
I mean, we've paid our dues. We can do whatever we want.
Facts.
Exactly.
This is a really nice segue to talking about art world stuff. y'all want to dish a little bit, but I have so much to say about this, because just seeing how the art world has been in the last year. What do you like? The whole world has changed. There will be no going back to normal. There's not going to be, this is the new normal. And I think we've learned a lot, but like, I would love to hear, I'm going to shut up for a second. I want like, Liz, what do you think will be like the biggest changes in the art world for artists, galleries, museums, or whatever? Like, what's your perspective? What do you see happening? And it might be different from where I'm at, you know, too. So I'd love to hear you guys talk about that.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like it's too soon to even know what will happen, but I've seen things moving in a direction where a lot of walls are being broken down.
Yeah.
A lot of truths are being exposed. I think the art world is changing rapidly, and it needed to change. It definitely needed to change. It was never a fair and equitable world to begin with. So just like the rest of it. So I do see some of that. Also, the internet, you know, made a huge difference too for artists, and it helped break down the barriers between the artists and the collectors as well. So I think that, in conjunction with all of the archaic qualities of the art world,
oh God,
has really affected a lot of galleries and institutions. I quite a few of them haven't been able to keep up with the times, and that's become very apparent in this last year. So yeah, that's it. It's changing. I feel like it's becoming more free, like just artists are caring less and less about the rules of the art world because there were so many unspoken rules.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm actually really excited about a lot of the things that are happening right now.
Me too.
I think we're heading into a renaissance of some kind. So
there are two things that that brings to mind. One is that I'm still very happy that the future is so uncertain that nobody can fake it. You know? I mean,
I love that.
I've spent so much of my life thinking, oh, this person knows what they're doing. Oh,
no one knows what they're doing.
No. They don't know that. They don't know. They have no idea. I don't have any idea. And everybody gets to be confused at the same time. The other thing is that, the other thing I really, really want to see up here is to see what our regular in-person events are like for instance, the art walks, First Friday art walk in Pioneer Square of Seattle, for example. Because Liz will attest to this. I mean, sometimes it's just so hard to get people in the Puget Sound region out of their chairs at home and to an event that it really makes me wonder if, it really makes me think that in order to pry people out of their houses or out of their cars or out of their offices in the Pacific Northwest, it's going to take an event that's like a huge spectacle, like an, not an art fair, but like, for example, some of those light installations that we're starting to see, like where there's a huge projection of an artwork on the side of a skyscraper or something like that. I think that galleries and other venues are really going to have to think about spectacle and about experience. I mean, they're already thinking about experience, but something big, because the standard thing up in the Seattle area, and Liz knows this, is that, people will say, oh yeah, I'm going to go to your event. Oh, I'm so looking forward to it. And then you check back in with them. And they're like, yeah, totally still going to go and see your event. And then it gets to that day and that person is finished work and they're like, I don't know.
And I'm that person.
And then they just sort of disappear like mist.
Back to something that you were saying, that is going to take big events. I've noticed a huge resurgence already in the Seattle area of large-scale murals. And art that is more for the public rather than a painting hanging in a white box that people are uncomfortable visiting. So that's been really cool to see that.
Yeah. I was thinking that when you were talking, Lisa, I was like, it's not spectacle, yes, but also experience. Like if the work isn't able to speak to a larger group of people that are not
you're gonna have to stop that.
Wait, what?
Okay,
who was that?
Start that again. Try that again. Let's try that again. I knew I was supposed to turn this off.
Was that your
Did I turn it off? No, I didn't.
Was that your ringtone?
Yes.
What was that song?
You want to hear my ringtone?
Yeah.
Liz, call me.
I was gonna say I would call you, but I don't know if I have your number. For a second, I thought you got Rick rolled. I don't know why. I thought it was Rick Astley, but I can't hear it.
Here we go.
It's real early in the morning, Saturday morning, but I'm awake and I got a Bulmash, yo. Let's wake up your neighbors. Time to wake up your neighbors. Let's wake up the neighbors.
I kind of don't want to hang up.
That'll do it.
It's a cool sketch show that was on years and years ago. Oh, you're gonna love this. The title of the sketch show was "The Whitest Guys You Know," and
No way!
that was
I never heard of this.
I've never heard of it either.
You best believe I'm gonna go look it up.
I think it was on like maybe a season and a half or something like that. I mean, this was way before streaming, and I mean, cable was a thing, but streaming, are you kidding? You know, this was still when people were going to movie theaters for movies and waiting until Saturday night for Saturday Night Live. So yeah.
Remember the before times.
Yeah.
I liked a lot of jokingly. I used to say before times jokingly, and now it's just normal.
No,
I mean, it's super literal. It's like oh yeah, it's like talking about, you know, like, well, there was the Renaissance, and then there was the Age of Enlightenment, and there was the before times.
Yeah.
Right now we're in limbo, maybe.
We're in it.
Yeah.
We're still in the thick of it, you know. To get back to what you were saying, Lisa, about like people not coming out to events, and what I also think part of the reason they don't come out is because the work doesn't really speak to them. It doesn't speak to their life experience. Like, let's get real. Like, the art world is really elitist, and for even now, but like think about like even like 25, 30, 40, 50 years ago, like these shows, the exhibitions they were never intended for everyone, right? Yeah. So I think it's like murals and things that you don't have to have insider knowledge to have access to, and to have like a meaningful connection to. That's probably what's going to be more successful coming out of this, as well as things that are in the public, out in space, where when we can finally congregate again and reclaim public space, that's really going to change the way people want to just like live in the world after being on lockdown for so long. Yeah.
And you know, speaking of wanting to be out in the world, it occurs to me that in Seattle with the tech industry, but you know, all over the country, all over the planet, really, we've been just going so hard, and now we're forced to stop, and we're forced to think, okay, well, if I'm going to go out today, is it worth it? Is it actually worth it to go to the grocery store because I have to have this, or because I want to have this? And I think that's a really good thing, because people have to make an effort to say, yes, I'm going to do this. And also on the flip side, they're not as exhausted as we used to be. You know, I mean, no. Well, that was team.
Well, I think people are being.
But seriously, I mean, you know, like people, I understood.
That's exactly what I was going to say.
Yeah, I mean, I understood when people were going to say, you know, oh, I'm going to make it. And then they just get to Thursday night or Friday night or whatever. And they're just like, I don't have
any more energy. Yeah. Now people are like,
I'm really hoping.
One thing I'm going to this week, the people are being really intentional about if they're going to go out in public. They're like, okay, how many people? You have to, it's like a whole planning thing to like go out. So it's not something you decide to do last minute. You're like, I'm making this a priority because it speaks to me and it's important to me, right? So it's not going to just be like, oh, I guess I'll go to Art Walk because there's nothing else to do. No, you're not. There's too many people. No, there's people. No. People, but if you're like, I'm going to go to one thing, I'm going to go because I want to, specifically because I really want to see this thing, and it's worth it for me to leave my house for that. Yeah. It's worth it for me to wear a mask for 3 hours straight for that, right? Whereas before it would just be like, oh, I'll go if I'm already out, or I'm like, oh, I'm too tired of staying home, or whatever.
Or 2 masks, or 3 masks, or whatever.
17 masks. That's the
17 masks and bubble wrap.
Right.
Don't worry about that whole breathing. It'll take care of itself.
I want a whole hazmat situation.
Yeah.
Liz can decorate the outside with like,
oh my goodness, that would be so. Oh my goodness, I saw this little snippet of an article, and you know how people are experimenting with like face shields, clear face shields in hospitals, and now they're moving out to the street and normal people. Somebody basically made like a plastic fishbowl / helmet to be wearing out in public. And I was just thinking, oh, the possibilities. The possibilities.
I think
You draw a new face on every day.
And public health. We had a whole discussion about this. Art and public health. I don't see why, even creative solutions to how one of my work colleagues was saying, you know what they need for these vaccine rollout distribution? They need a theater person, a stage manager. They need because stage managers
way better than our
done. They can do like 8 jobs at the same time and make sure everyone is standing on the exact dot where they need to be standing when this cue happens or whatever, So I think that, like, again, this goes back to like, we didn't know how much technical knowledge we had about the paints and the things that we use. Their artists also have a lot of skill sets that are transferable to all kinds of arenas. So it's not, creativity is not just for making art. Because I wish somebody would get creative about giving these vaccines out, because the way they're doing it right now is not working.
Well, you heard about the folks who were trying to deliver some vaccine, but they got stuck in one of the mountain passes, Liz, and they ended up having. Did you hear about that?
No.
Yeah, they got stuck up in a mountain pass. I want to say it was here in Washington State, but it might have been somewhere else. Anyway, what happened was they were getting closer and closer to the point at which they would have to throw out the vaccines if they didn't get them into arms soon. And so they just got out of their cars and started walking around to everybody's cars going, "You want a vaccine?
You want one?
You want a vaccine?"
It's either that or it's going in the garbage. Right?
Exactly. You get a vaccine and you get a vaccine. We all get vaccines.
But yeah, it's been really interesting to see too how COVID has affected creatives and like the creative industry, just visually. Even you look at the fashion industry too, they responded right away to the masks and all of.
Didn't even skip a beat.
Yeah. And I've been
noticing. I thought to them skipping a beat was just going like, oh, should I even bother? Because I remember looking at somebody's website, and I think she was making dresses, and her mom said, "Oh, you should make a mask to go along with it." And she was like, "No, nobody wants that," And of course, like, had 5 out, and they were gone in 5 minutes, and yeah,
we all did.
Yeah, we need to match.
It's important.
Yeah,
I think we're really getting into it now. Like, you know what? I feel like I haven't been making that many paintings, but I've been doing a lot of thinking more about fashion and what I'm wearing. Even though I'm in the house just wearing like yoga pants and t-shirts, I want them to be super cute. And so I've been thinking about, like, Liz, remember when I had that one painting I just did, like, it was just like a mock-up to see what this one painting would look like as pants. And it was super cute. Watch me circle back around to that idea.
I've been loving doing fashion. I love it. And I hope to do more of it in the future too. I really like taking the preciousness out of art as well. And also, like, we've talked a lot about licensing and working with brands and whatnot, but I feel like it makes the work so much more accessible.
Yes.
Too. And also, something simple as having your painting on a face mask, like, it brings a little bit of joy to something that is really difficult. So, and I love combining art with healthcare, and love having my work in hospitals for that reason. And hope to do more of that, because art's needed in every aspect of life.
Right.
I just went off on a tangent.
Well, you've seen those memes talk about, like, all these people, like, art doesn't mean anything. Art is a waste of time. You should
can't live without it. Right? They can't.
So that movie you were streaming, all the
music you've been listening to.
You know, the
all the
graphics,
dances you've been doing on TikTok.
Procreate that you're playing with now, so that you don't murder somebody in their sleep.
I hope we come out of this with more respect for creatives. I really do.
Wouldn't that be nice?
Yeah.
I don't know on a national level, but I think from what I've seen from a lot of people who never really considered the arts, like they're like, I'm not an art collector. I like the arts, that's great. But now they're like, wait, this is a big deal. This is how we survived the pandemic, by doing creative things that brought us joy. And like, remember when all the musicians were doing like free live streaming and concerts, and that's going to become the new normal. I think even when we go back to being able to meet in person, I really think that I think for me, I'll always try to have a hybrid, event where some of it is online. At least there's at least some online participation aspect, because I think it's really opened up to the possibility of who can even attend your events, right? They can come in person, or they can also still tune in and feel like they're like part of it, and from across the country or another country, right?
It just makes it so much more accessible.
Yeah, I mean, we keep coming back to accessibility and who has access to art and who should have access to art, right? Like, I want to live in a world where everyone has the chance and opportunity to have some type of access to creativity, whether they're making it or viewing it or, using it or wearing it. I mean, that's the type of world I want to live in.
I mean, it's what makes us human.
Yeah, it's what makes us different from squirrels.
I don't know, squirrels are pretty creative.
They really are. I don't know why I had to single them out. I didn't mean to drag the squirrels. That was uncalled for.
Squirrels.
We don't have squirrels in Arizona. That's what I'm talking shit.
There's about 100 squirrels that live in my front yard, and that's my TV.
I miss them.
Just watching them.
Can you imagine if we had squirrels? My Pearl, I would never see her again. She would just chase squirrels all the time. Well, Pearl's my dog, by the way, if you did. You know that, Lisa, right? I'm not just like, there's not a little person in my house named Pearl.
Pearl is Kesha's imaginary friend.
Yeah. Just one of many. Oh my gosh.
I wonder what it's going to be like in a museum. It's sort of expanding this idea of wanting to have art around you and being more thoughtful and more intentional about the art that you bring into your home, into your space. I wonder how that's going to work out for museums, because it just occurred to me, there are all of these great works of art that are in storage, or that somebody with more money than they know what to do with has bought and then put into storage until they can flip it. And I'd really like to know how that's going to affect museums and using the collections that they already have and the work that they haven't shown in 10 years because they were busy having this traveling exhibit come in or that event going on.
I see them sell off some of the really expensive pieces and buy stuff that's more relevant.
Yeah. I would like to see them well, the thing is, here's a secret nobody wants you to know. Most museums are broke. So that's why they're always asking you for those insane entry fees and for donations. And it's why they're always giving big galas. That's how they make their money. And so what I'm interested in is, one, because they don't have any money coming in besides like outside huge funders, right? And when that money dries up, how are they maintaining their collections? How are they going to get programming? First, the programming where they pay artists to come in and do artist talks or work with people. Are they going to be able to make a commitment to being able to hire artists back? Because what I saw at the very beginning of this pandemic was museums and other big organizations throwing the actual creatives that hold them up, that are the foundation of what they do. They threw us under the bus.
Oh, totally.
So the first people to get laid off were like all of the creative workers in the museum, like the education departments. Cut, you're home, you're gone. All of the artists that had contracts to come perform or do programming, all of that got cut. So what I want to know is, how are museums going to make it up to us? Because I feel like they have a lot to answer for.
Yeah.
Yep.
I mean, they always have, let's be fair. This is not new information. This is not a new problem, but they have a lot to answer for in general for their treatment of artists,
Yep.
considering that they profit off of our labor.
And we're rarely compensated for it.
And when we are, it's under.
I don't understand what people, I don't understand how so many people can not grasp two ideas at the same time, that you do something that you like, but you would also like to feed yourself. Like, why is it such a hard pair of concepts, you know, to wrap your mind around?
Yeah, I mean, like,
Capitalism.
capitalism.
No. Work, the definition of work is not doing something you hate so you can pay the bills. The definition of work is doing something so you can pay the bills.
Anything, like labor is labor. Like the cost of one human hour of human labor is an hour of human life. So when you put it in those terms, why is it that my labor is less valuable than a doctor's labor? Why is my labor less valuable or more valuable than my cleaning lady? An
Or then
hour
a
of
museum director. Because
human
they're
labor
making
is human
bank.
labor.
Mhm.
So
Yeah, I
That
mean,
got
if you
deep
don't have
real
any,
quick.
you don't have a staff to direct.
I just see that a lot of these inequalities and a lot of these problems within the arts industry, they've been here forever, and we've all been like, ugh, God, this sucks. Why do we do it like this? And a lot of people are like, no, I'm not doing that anymore. Especially after so many artists got burned last year by contracts getting canceled and, you know, having the rug like ripped out from under them. It's like, you already pay artists the least. At the very least you can do is fulfill your financial obligation, whether the contract was completed or not. It's the least you can do. We're the smallest part of your budget. And I know this for a fact. So like, I know how much you pay your leadership. So the least you can do is to support the people that keep you in business. I don't like
Something to get people to come to your business.
I mean, let's just be fair. They don't exist without us.
But are we expecting too much from institutions that are built on colonialism?
Oh, hell yeah,
I mean,
man.
Okay,
Like museums
I love,
in general.
I love talking about colonialism as much as the next artist, but seriously, everything is built on
I
colonialism.
know, it's true.
Right?
It's true. Everything. Yeah. So what does the new museum look like?
I think there's an opportunity for, what I see coming out of this is a lot of community, mutual aid and artists working together to do cooperative things, which I think that's the bee's knees. Like, that's how I like to work anyway. So this is not new to me. It is not something that I just learned how to do during the pandemic, artists teaming up with artists to get shit done is basically all of art history. And we just need to do that. I think that's where our energy needs to be, is teaming up with, our peers. Like, we like to look at each other and be like, let's get together and do something. It's going to be super exciting and creative because artists created it.
And we'll create our own museums if we need to.
I think we should do that right away.
Yeah.
All we need is some donors and a budget that's not in the black and a bunch of stuff, bunch of artwork in storage. We all have that though.
I have a ton. We just put our stuff together.
You know what? I know where we're going to put all this stuff. We're going to put it in the empty office buildings. That's where we'll put it. Because there's all this, especially in the cities that we live in, there's all this expensive real estate that's just going begging.
Yeah.
Why not put the art in
Wild.
there? I mean, there are some programs that do that to a certain extent, but I mean, you have like this big old skyscraper that has never been leased or rented out or whatever.
Yeah.
Why is it still empty? Why is it still even standing?
It's so weird, right? That's like every artist's dream, is just give me an empty building. Like we all want more space to store our stuff in and to work in. That's all we want. We're like, and if I can live there at the same time, even better. Everybody wants to live work.
Space is such a huge hurdle for artists.
Yeah, just having the room to even get anything done.
Mm-hmm.
And storage. Can we talk more about storage?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm not going to show you the rest of my studio today because it's Tetris together.
Liz and I joke about this all the time, that how much time we spend rearranging our studios just to like just moving stuff from spot to spot and making clean areas to work is like 50% of my on-ramp to get to the point where I can actually make the art, is like to create the conditions in my, and I have a decent, listen, our spaces are about the same, like 500 square feet or so. So, you know, you acquire a lot of things, fabric hoarder, remember, fabric hoarder. So you acquire a lot of things over a lifetime of art making. So that's what I've been working on for months while I have not been making actual paintings. My studio is spotless right now. It is beautiful. I'm super proud. Now I have no excuse. Now I have to go make some arts.
And now you make it dirty in about 2 minutes.
Right?
Yep.
You're already on the freeway. Don't bother getting on the on-ramp again. You're fine.
All right.
Exactly. Everybody else will just get out of your way.
Oh man, yeah, I'm gonna trash it in like one afternoon. Always.
You know, speaking of studios, I thought about studio visits, not like the formal kind where a gallerist comes to your studio or a collector comes to your studio, but just having somebody new in your studio. And
Yeah.
I think I've seen pictures on your Instagram feed where you have like your niece there, you know, and I'm just like, ooh, what am I gonna do next?
My studio is like a family fun space that sometimes, yeah, it's crazy in there. It always has been. I mean, my mom helped me like set it up and paint and all that stuff. And then the kids will come over, my niece and my nephew, my brother's 2 kids come over. My nephew was home from college. We went over there and we made art in there. Like everybody who comes to hang out with me will end up spending a day in my studio. It's fun. It's got good energy. Like it's just, especially when it's just nice. It's nice.
Yeah,
I love this space.
I'm looking forward to building my studio. Actually, the construction starts on Monday. My studio in Eugene, which is attached to my mom's house. And my mom recently took my class, and she's never really painted before, and she's almost 70. Hi, Mom. We're going to be painting together, and I cannot wait. You know, it's going to be so much fun. I mean, we might have to fight over some things, but yeah.
You guys are going to be fine. It's going to be
we'll
so
be good.
fun.
But it will be a family space, and I'm looking forward to having a lot of people in there with me. And what I've enjoyed, Lisa experienced this, but what I enjoyed when it was nicer outside post-COVID or during COVID, just painting outside in the yard together. There's something about making with other people that just,
it felt like camp.
Therapeutic.
It felt like summer camp, you know, like we've got our supplies, everybody get comfortable, do what you're gonna do. And it was so much fun.
And there's no ego, no like pretentiousness. It's just,
it's hard to be pretentious when you're out on the lawn, right? Like
yeah,
Exactly.
Yeah.
Ooh, sorry about that. That was my water. Sorry.
I'm gonna do that before it gets too hot here. I think I might do some painting on the patio. Why not?
Mm-hmm. It's fun.
It'd be cool.
Fun.
Oh man.
So what
I was gonna say, what's everyone like? What's the next thing you're gonna make? Because I know we're gonna wrap it up here pretty soon too. I just got a little ding on my phone from. So where are we? What is it? Almost March. Okay, so we survived. We're almost done surviving the winter. Well, y'all, I have my AC on. I live in the desert. But what's the plan for summer? Like, what are you guys working on, or what are you thinking about? Or maybe you're not making, maybe are you just gonna like chill out? Or are you gonna, what's spring and summer plan?
Let's see. I have a couple of shows coming up that are going to extend into the summer. There's a fantastic gallery called Wanawari in Seattle, and I'm going to have some work up there very soon. Starting in March, and if I remember correctly, it's going to extend about midsummer, because who knows how often we'll be able to actually go there in person. And I also have to make plans for another show that's sort of a redo of one that I had in 2020, but because everybody was trying to figure out, their Zoom settings and, figure out if they could show up here or there or wherever. With all their PPE on, it was just kind of like, it was up on the website, and it was, oh, I see this, but it just didn't gel the way an exhibit usually does. And so this one's gonna be live, hopefully, with people actually coming in and out, and it's gonna be in a place where I have to drive through a mountain pass to get there. And this will be the first time I do this. So I've already told Liz that she has to come with me.
I have to drive you. I don't have the best car for it right now. I might need to borrow yours, but.
All right. I'll just be white knuckling it on the other side.
So this is for Gallery 1?
Yeah.
In Ellensburg? Oh, great.
Yeah.
I'd love to come out there.
Yes, I'm really excited that it's going to be in the warmer months, because then it's just hopefully driving in the mountains as opposed to driving in the mountains and really hoping that you don't slide off the road and kill yourself.
Yeah. Well, and
that's not funny. I don't know why I'm laughing so hard.
Because you're like laughing at us because you're in the desert, all warm and everything.
Yeah. It was people are swimming and swimming pools.
Liz, the best part about us not being in the desert is we know that it's never going to get above 105 at the most. And we know that if we stand outside, it doesn't matter if we stand on the concrete, because there won't be so much sun bouncing off the concrete and into our faces.
You're not going to burst into flames. You don't have to deal with the hell's.
Exactly. We are not jumping from air conditioning to air conditioning. Now, granted, sometimes we are, but it's because of the rain.
Right. No,
bursting into flames. Ooh, have you ever been to a place called Mecca in California? It's in the same general area as Coachella.
I think I've driven through it or by it. Is it near the Salton Sea, kind of?
So very hot. But actually, on a map it is, but not in real terms. The Salton Sea is quite a distance, but the heat is the same. Oh my goodness.
Yeah, it's intense.
Yeah, 115 is, I realized that I can basically function up to 110, and then
that's my number two. That's my number two. Like, I'm fine until once it gets past 110, I'm like, yeah, I'm not going outside. So to answer my own question of what am I going to do in the spring and summer, I'm going to enjoy, honestly, because it's going to be so hot. I'm going to just enjoy being outside until I can't do it anymore. And then I'll probably hunker down in my studio for this summer, because you're trapped inside all summer. But in terms of like what exactly I'm going to make, I have no idea. I never know anyway. Everyone keeps saying, I can't wait to see what you made during the pandemic. And I'm like, me too. Yeah, when's that gonna, me too. I can't wait to see it. So whenever it happens, you two will be the first to know. I'll premiere here first.
Look, I made a thing.
Look, I made it. I made something. I made this. See,
It counts when you just make things in your head, right?
that
Like
doesn't
that
count.
has to count for something.
I am such a dope conceptual artist then. Is that like, because the work in here, outstanding. Just
Genius. Brilliant.
you've never seen anything like it, literally. All right, Liz, what about you? What are you up to spring and summer? It's gonna get warm there. It's gonna be nice.
Yeah, so we'll probably be settling into Eugene.
New studio.
In the
Yay!
new studio. There'll probably be a lot of back and forth between Oregon and Seattle. But I want to spend a lot of time camping and exploring the outdoors and, you know, doing everything that I didn't do last summer. So maybe a little less work, a little less working. Yeah, and more playing. And then I'm also developing some projects too that are outdoors. So I'm excited for that. I can't say much about it on a recorded Zoom right now.
It's top secret.
I'm dying to say these two words. Where are you going to do it with?
I don't know.
I won't ask. I promise I won't ask.
Actually, a lot of things that I'm pretty excited about for summer and fall. So
Cool.
And then mushroom hunting. I go mushroom hunting a lot in the late summer.
I've never done that. I want to come along.
Oh yeah, you're always welcome.
Liz is like a pro mushroom hunter. You definitely should go.
Oh yeah. And I promise I won't eat the truffles that I find.
I don't know how to do the truffles. I think we need a dog or a pig for that.
You need a pig.
Yeah.
Well, yeah,
I'll
you
work
need a
on that.
pig, but you have to be ahead of the pig before the pig eats it, right?
Probably. I'm not sure exactly how it works.
I was just gonna say, I don't know how that
Dig it up.
works.
You have to dig it up. I've seen trees where animals have been like rooting for them.
Mhm.
But yeah, I'm not sure how to
I'm
do them.
hungry for truffles.
Me too. When we had that whole truffle
Either
meal.
kind, the mushroom kind or the chocolate kind. I'm good. I'm
Mushroom. I was actually talking about the mushroom kind, but
good. I'll take both.
yeah, I was like, I'll take both.
I can do that for you. I'll take that off your hands because I'm a giver.
Gift giving is your love language, isn't it, Lisa?
It is.
I knew it. I knew it. I knew this about you.
Mhm.
Well, I don't know what you guys have planned next, but now I'm really hungry. Now I really have to go eat.
And I've been smelling whatever The Rock is cooking downstairs, and by The Rock I mean my husband.
Like, wow, there's a meal waiting for you. I love this. See, artists have such glamorous lives.
I know.
Your personal chef.
I know he
Your
was good in
personal
the
chef.
kitchen when I married him.
I'm gonna get a personal chef right after my next exhibition.
Wouldn't that be nice?
Yeah, that would be amazing.
Dreams.